Hey, be a squid and subscribe to my mediocrity.
How's it going, everybody? Today we're going to be discussing some money making methods in BDO. Now I'm going to be fully transparent and completely clear about how this video is going to go down. I will be directing you towards the things that you should be focusing on. I will be going over some hotspots with farming as well as how fishing works and how you can make a decent chunk of money, but overall I am not going to tell you secret spots. I am not going to tell you what to sell on the central marketplace, because if I do, these things and methods will get destroyed and they will not work anymore, and I will essentially be destroying the method that I just gave you, and it will no longer work for yourself. And this is not by choice either. Like, I'm not choosing to fucking not tell you. I wish I could literally do an entire in-depth video as to where I can, where you can get all the best stuff, where you can make the most profit. I wish I could straight up tell you that, but if I do, those methods and the profits go down, and that's just how BDO is designed. You literally cannot help people find the best shit, because if you do, everyone's gonna do it, and unfortunately it'll disappear into the void. If you look throughout the entire fucking years of BDO, the marketplace is very volatile, and items like the witch's earring, for example, that item used to sell for 12 million. At least currently, right now, it barely sells for like 8 or 9. So yeah, I mean, it's not fucking great. I'm just gonna take the moment to apologize in advance, but yeah, I legitimately cannot reveal everything to you. So I'm severely sorry. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the actual money-making methods and pointing you in the direction as to what you should be doing. Now, from the starting and being a beginner, I'm going to tell you that you're going to want to focus on the main quest. This is obvious as fuck because you have literally no other choice, but I just want to mention how important it is, and even if it's not your first character, you should still do the quest because it gives you a good chunk of change, and not to mention, level 1 through 56, you'll end up with about 100 mil in your bank account. So without a doubt, definitely do the quest at all costs, regardless of your first character or not. Not to mention, you'll get contribution points, which will be used for processing later on, which also makes some pretty good money. Anyway, aside from stating the fucking obvious, let me tell you about fishing, because this is going to be something you're going to want to invest in no matter what the hell level you are. It's just that important. Now, as a beginner though, I will recommend you invest the bare minimum and don't invest too much, because you will not have the bag space in order to benefit from having a super high-end fishing rod as well as the clothing and whatnot. Plus, not to mention, you're going to be hurting for money anyway, so there's no use in overpaying for something that you're not going to be able to fully benefit from. So a beginner fisherman setup, I would recommend getting at least a +5 Balenos fishing rod. Anywhere in between, just a regular base one and a +5 is going to be perfectly fine. I don't recommend going any above +5 because you're not going to be able to benefit from it at all. So get the Balenos rod and just hold on to that until you get to a higher level and you start making a lot of money. Now, if you want to, and if you have the extra funds, you can also purchase the functional clothing for fishermen. That's totally fine as well. I don't think you necessarily need it, but if you want to get a little bit more bang out of your, purchases and whatnot, and selling to the, just having better fish in general, I think that it's worth the investment. But I don't think you should just get like a super high-end one either, because once again, you're not really going to benefit from it as much as some other things. So if you do get it, I recommend going at least +2 and no higher. Once you have your fishing rod and your functional clothing, if you decided to purchase it, you're just going to want to fish in Valia and Heidel. These two spots are going to be really good for just starting out. The resources are generally exhausted there, but that really doesn't affect much of anything. I fish there on a regular basis, and I can tell you it doesn't really matter. If it says exhausted, abundant, or average, for the most part, you're still going to be making decent chunks of cash out of it, so if you sit in these two towns, you'll be fine. I will hint at the fact that there's going to be some items in these two spots that are going to go on the central marketplace, but you'll have to kind of do your own research and figure that out, because the more that goes up on the marketplace, the less valuable it is. These items used to actually sell for like 5 to 10 million at one point, and now they only sell for 1 million, so yeah, kind of shitty, but that's the nature of the game. Now that I've kind of explained AFK fishing, let me talk about active fishing, and this is where the big money is at, because you can do active fishing at a much faster rate than AFK fishing. I just want to be completely clear that AFK fishing is totally reliable and also very viable for fucking money making, just because you can do it while you're sleeping, watching the kids, doing whatever. It doesn't really matter what the hell you're doing, but it's always going to be extra money in your pocket, whether it be 200k to 1 million or so. Just bear in mind, it's always viable. But active farming is always going to be faster and more efficient. Anyway, with that being said, let's talk about some active farming. So this is where your big money is going to be at. This is you paying attention and actually fishing. This is how I make a lot of my money. I'll sit there for a straight up, like, you know, an hour and a half, and I'll walk away with literally 10 mil in that hour and a half, like straight the fuck up, like 10 mil easily. And that's if I just stop at that point. If I were to straight up active fish throughout the whole day, 100 million, easy, straight up. I feel like one of the biggest things that people don't understand is that active farming is so important. You cannot just sit AFK and the game will give you millions of dollars, despite the fact that it actually kind of does do that. If you literally don't log into the game for X amount of months, you will make actually a shit ton of money. But yeah, that involves you not playing the game, and by the time, if you had just farmed up for that entire month, you would have made more money than the game would have given you. So it obviously is a balance factor. But anyway, I'm getting off track here. I just kind of want to dispel the notion that AFK farming is going to be the absolute like king of the crown here. I don't want people to immediately be like, well, I AFK farmed for like, you know, 8 hours and I barely made $1 million. It's like, yeah, that's essentially what happens whenever you AFK farm, especially when you're starting out. You don't have the trade skills in order to sell the fish at a decent bargain. Not to mention, you don't have the fisherman skill as well to just make things a lot more quicker and faster. So no matter how you look at it, it is going to be way less than active farming. So how does active farming work? Essentially, you're going to be paying attention, of course. Whenever you get a fish on the line, you press A, enter the combo, unless you hit it perfect, and then boom, bam, bing, bow, you get a fish. And then if it's some horse shit like a rope or an anchor or something, just throw that bitch away and then just keep fishing until you have nothing but straight up fish in your inventory. If you're doing this correctly and everything is going according to plan and you're not fucking up combos or missing any kind of like, you know, grab points, you should have your entire like 55 slot inventory if you've done the full quest in order to get your slots. If you have the full inventory, you should be able to fill this up in roughly about 10 to 15 to 20 minutes, and regardless, you'll be able to go back, sell it to the trade manager, and then go right back to fishing, do it all over again. At the very minimum, I've done the math. If you have 100 slots, of course, I have to mention this because that's what I did the math in. If you have 100 inventory space and selling the absolute worst fish in the game, which is worth 4,100 fucking gold or silver, whatever the hell, and that's good. It's going to be 600k. It's 600k with the lowest fucking fish. Now, if we redo the math, you're looking about 300k for 50 slots, so that's going to be still pretty damn good at the absolute lowest fish, which, by the way, you're never going to end up with just the worst fish filling your inventory. That just never fucking happens. You'll always end up with some blues, some higher end greens, sometimes some yellows, which will yield you about 100 to 200k. These will always be within your realm of fishing, so no matter what, whether you get the worst fish in the game or you get the best fish in the game, you're still going to be making 300k at least. That's going to be per trip, by the way, so every time you go back and sell your fish, that's 300k in your pocket. You go back out to the sea, boom, do it all over again until you have a couple mil in your pocket. Now, obviously, the better the fish, the better the price points, not to mention the higher the trade bargain is for you. You're going to be able to get more bang for your buck when it comes to the fishing. So it's all going to be a time process and building up that proficiency and whatnot, but overall, active fishing is going to be absolutely king when it comes to fishing. If you just straight up get into it and just start grabbing fish left and right, you will be raking in the dough, no problem. Especially once you start leveling up your proficiency, you'll literally have millions at your fingertips by the time the day is over. Now, moving on to actual active farming in terms of going and killing mobs. There's going to be a few hotspots that I'm going to mention, but overall, you're going to kind of want to do your own research in this. I'm just going to go over the well-known spots that actually are worthy of going for money. Now, I just want to be clear about this particular method because there is AP and DP involved, not to mention your gear score is going to fucking matter, which is what AP and DP is. So whenever you look at the map, you're going to see some areas that say optimal AP 100, 180, or whatever, and you're going to need around that AP. You don't necessarily need the exact AP, but if you want to go there, you're going to need to be close in that range. So if you see, like, let's take Sazan's Garrison, for example, it's 100 to 180 AP. The recommended for me, like, at least I can go there about 140, 150 and still clear mobs kind of effectively. It's slow, but I can actually still survive and clear the mobs. So no matter what, you can still go there. It's just recommended you probably be higher so you can actually clear the mobs faster. So with that being said, let's discuss what is the best farm spot pre-level 50. So my opinion is going to be the Primal Giant's Post. This place is level 43 to 45, which is really great because if you're not level 50, you can't be bothered by PvP, by PvP, I don't want to call them that. They're PKers, they're player killers. They just go there to fuck with you, ruin your day, take your farm and whatnot. But if you're under level 50, you can't be killed by other players. So I highly recommend you keep one of your farm characters at level 49 at all costs and definitely get them some super high-end gear so that way they can clear mobs effectively. What this essentially does is allows you to go to any farm spot wherever you feel like it and nobody can fucking bother you. I do this on a regular basis because legitimately the game has gotten so volatile, especially with the fucking quarantine going on. Everyone is, populating the servers, so everything is taken, everything is fucking up there, so PvPers, PKers, whatever you want to call them, they're always around trying to fuck with you. So I highly recommend level 49, put a character on it, and then just leave it there for farming. Anyway, back to Primal Giant's Post. The reason this place is super fucking good is because there's like these things called giant spears or something. That it's an item that you can sell to any kind of vendor, like a blacksmith or whatever. You don't put them on the marketplace, but these sell for a stupid amount of money. And if you come back with like, I think 1,500 or something, or maybe it's more than that, I don't personally remember, but if you come back with like 1,500 to 3,000, that's basically like 3 to 4 mil in your fucking pocket. So I highly recommend starting here to do active farming, because if you just go like per hour, you're raking in, 3 mil an hour, and then you just keep going back, and then if you do this for a couple hours, you've got, yourself 10 mil, which will be enough to upgrade some gear, maybe buy some personal stuff to help you out with leveling and whatnot. But overall, this is definitely a top tier starting point for you guys that are pre-level 50. Now, 3 other places I'm going to mention is Helm's Post, Elric's Shrine, and Sazzen's Garrison. These are the 3 hotspots that pretty much everyone goes to, and once again, I'm going to recommend going here with the appropriate AP, but staying at level 49 because everything is going to try and kill you if you go to these spots. Especially Helm's Post and Sazzen's Garrison, these 2 spots are heavily populated with endgame characters that are just super geared above like 200, so if you're not even remotely close to being like somewhat soft cap, which is like 261 or something, yeah, I mean, you're pretty much gonna get dicked on the moment you go here at level 56. So my advice to you is get at least 150 AP and then stay at level 49, and then you can go to each one of these spots and farm effectively without being bothered by PKers. Now, some things you're going to want to be looking out for. At Helm's Post, this place has the Azula like accessory earrings and I think rings. Here, this is super good because you can get a lot of money from just, farming Grunil armor pieces and selling them on the marketplace. The Grunil armor sells for a shit ton of money. Just a base version alone sells for 365,000. And if you get like a +5 or higher, you're looking at millions right there. So the Grunil armor set is super casual and you can farm it at the fucking Helm's Post, and it's super good. Like I said, though, there's going to be a lot of players here because it is a cash money spot that everyone knows about and everyone likes doing. So just go there with, pretty much fucking nothing, and don't be level 50 because you will die. Also, I had mentioned the Azula set. This is an accessory, like the rings and earrings and belts and necklace and all that stuff. I believe there's 2 things here. I think it's the earrings and the rings. And at this spot in particular, you're going to want these because they're really good for, early level 56. And then as you progress upwards towards 60, you're going to be replacing them. But as a starting point, they're free and you can farm them here. So I highly recommend you at least come here at some point to get the accessories. Now, Elric's Shrine is not necessarily as bad. I've been there in recent times, and it's not really that toxic, but I gotta be honest, the farming is a bit, crowded. There's definitely a lot of players. If you can get into a server that's not necessarily super populated, which is probably very hard to do right now, if you can get Elric's Shrine kind of to yourself, or at least to maybe 1 or 2 other people, and you can kind of get in your own zone and spot, you should be able to farm up a bunch of gold here because you'll be getting these items that you can actually sell to a particular vendor, which he will trade you gold bars, which will net you like $1 million per like couple thousand, I think. Or no, it's not even a couple thousand. I think it's like 1,000 or something, and then he'll give you $1 million like gold bars. So this is a absolutely fantastic fucking spot for farming for money because you're literally selling these like weird earrings or whatever to a vendor that will give you 1,000,000 fucking silver just for this shit. Now, Sazen's Garrison, this place is kind of, I think, more for XP farming, but you also can make money from it as well. It's kind of just up to you whether you want to go to Sazen's. This is probably the most populated next to Helm's Post. It's definitely toxic. There's a lot of people there on a regular basis, and people are always fighting. So if you're gonna go there, once again, recommend level 49 so nobody can fuck with you, and just, you know, take your farm as much as you can. And I think that about covers everything that I'm currently doing to make a lot of money. I'm just a very heavy active farmer when it comes to fishing and going to certain spots and selling items and whatnot. You just have to know what to sell, and unfortunately, I just cannot tell you everything. I just can't. It's just not a thing I can fucking do. So do a little bit of research. I highly recommend whatever you find out, keep to yourself. Don't tell anybody. It's just not worth it, because you're gonna lose that method the moment you open your mouth. Oh, before I forget, one last thing I do want to mention about fishing. You can get a boat and go out to the ocean. Now, the ocean is actually a super good spot to go at, especially if you have the boat, of course. This is gonna be absolutely phenomenal because it's always abundant. Not to mention, you can also get a lot of good fish out in the ocean, because there's these spots that have seagulls on them, which I think those are hot spots or something. I'm not entirely sure what they're really called, but generally whenever you see seagulls out in the ocean, it's a super heavy spot for, you know, good fish, and it's always going to be yellowfish, which sell for an insane amount of money. So I highly recommend, the moment you get a chance to, invest in a boat. Currently right now on Xbox One, sailboats, or just, you know, the fishing boats, whatever you want to call them, even a rowboat, it's about 2 to 6 mil. So if you can catch it on sale and it's there, they're pretty rare, but I picked 2 up today, so I highly recommend you do the same. The difference between ocean fishing and just kind of fishing at the shore or in lakes and rivers is that in the ocean you have less of a chance of getting trash drops like rope, anchors, and boots and all sorts of dumb shit. So fishing out in the ocean is kind of just, you're always going to get fish constantly, so you don't actually have to worry about getting literal garbage. Anyway, that was my money making method. If you have anything that you want to add, put it down in the comment section below, or keep it to yourself. I'm not going to judge you. I literally am not. I find as much as I want you to tell me the secrets, I literally I keep it to myself, and that's kind of it. But that's going to be it. I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.